Hello friends, those back pages here. I hope you're well. Tonight we're going to talk about grading and when exactly did PSA take over. Been thinking about that a lot lately. There's a lot of backlash, as always, to third-party grading. It is what it is. Either you like it or you don't, I guess, or you're indifferent. Some people may be indifferent. But you see there in front of you 3 copies of the 2021 Prism Joe Burrow Blue Ice, which happens to be a card that's numbered to 99. Blue Ice is a very popular Prism parallel. But again, this video is not about Prism or Blue Ice. It's about the major grading companies, 3 of which are represented there, and I would say 4th is BGS is bringing up the rear at 4, and some people, there's a small group of people, tag grading, TAG, tag grading. It's done through AI and all this other stuff, and at this time, I just don't consider them to be a serious grading company. I guess the main reason, why is that? Well, I guess the main reason would be that I don't believe, at least as of this recording, that they grade anything vintage or even like 90s. I'm not sure, and then I know they don't grade vintage, but I find it bizarre if a grading company wants to be taken seriously, they don't grade all cards. But again, it is what it is, right? And this video is not to particularly bash on any particular it's a lot of particulars, but not specific to bash on any one grading company. As you can see there, I do use them all, or have used them in the past. I've submitted to the 4, the 3, and BGS there. Personal cards I've submitted for my collection, which I've shown off in the past. And if this was, this is March 2024, and if this was March 2014 and I was having a mail day, I would show something like this. This 2009 Topps Chrome Steph Curry, which is numbered to 999 on the back. If you don't know the history of these, it's worth looking up. I'm not going to go into it now, but I did buy this back in 2014. It might have been 2015. It's a little fuzzy. But anyway, this would have been a happy mail day. And then other slabs that would have come in around that time. This LeBron was in a, and I really hate this terminology now, but I'm going to use it a couple times. It's totally cringeworthy, but this was in a True Gems BGS slab. This was in a True Gem BGS slab. Kobe 10. This was in a True Gem BGS slab. This is the refractor parallel of his Bowman Chrome rookie card. And this was in a True Gem BGS slab. And so, when I got back into collecting slabs, I got back into collecting and decided, I'm going to do the slab stuff. That was in 2005, and I wasn't discriminating against any company. Didn't really have a favorite. But it's, like I said, these were purchased as True Gems just because it was cheaper. I think I might be remembering correctly, but again, these are 10s. And I know for sure that buying these 2 as True Gems was cheaper than trying to get a PSA 10 at the time. And you know, there was a time where you could take your BGS slabs and cross them over to PSA, have them do a crossover, leave it in the actual slab. I didn't bring one with me. I have a couple examples to show, but I didn't. Never mind. Yeah, so you could take your BGS slab, tell PSA, hey, I want a minimum grade crossover, and I want a minimum grade of a 10. So if it's not a 10, return it to me in the slab as it is. Now this one I never tried, so I'm thinking it must have been 2016. Because, let me backtrack a little bit, because what you could do with your PSA membership back then, you would get a voucher. Your annual re-upping of your membership came with a voucher for grading submissions. I think actually in the beginning, in the beginning for me, 10, 11 years ago, PSA membership, if you got the highest tier, you got 15 vouchers. And they slowly chopped it down to 12, 10, 5, nothing. But what you could do back in those days is take your BGS slabs and use one voucher at the show on a crossover. So over the years, for 15, 16, and I think I stopped in 17, I took these and crossed them over from their BGS slabs and put them in PSA slabs. Using the credit voucher from my membership. There was no upcharging. There was none of that stuff back then. So it was more feasible to try to cross over there's that phrase again, true gem BGS slab, and then get it into a PSA 10 or a PSA 9 if you wish. I had there were two cards that stand out that did not cross, not including this Curry. I never did. Like I said, there came a time where they said there was a cutoff value-wise that you couldn't, this shot up in value, and then they wanted extra money to try to cross it, and I just said, I'll just keep it like that. But there was a time where you could just cross over. So that's what I did with those three. Now, like I was saying, two cards come to mind that did not cross. One was a 2012 Elite Landrew Luck rookie. It just didn't cross. They might have said it was min size. I don't remember. Did not cross. I think it actually had 1.9 subgrade. So that, that my belief with the BGS stuff is, if you have a real gem, BGS 9.5, it shouldn't have any 9 subgrades, because that would make it a mint. The gem mint card should not have mint subgrades or mint, anything. But then that's a whole nother topic for debate. So the one was the Andrew Luck, which I guess doesn't matter anymore. And the other was the 2011 Bowman Draft and Prospects non-chrome Trout base, and it was a quote-unquote true gem, but the corners, it gave a 9.5 on the corners, and it was not a 9.5 corners. But I tried it. I had to try it just for trying's sake, and it came back, it didn't meet. Wasn't going to gem, so I kept it as is. So when exactly did this, this PSA or nothing come to mind? Come to fruition? Probably not long thereafter. But again, I collect all four. I rarely look for BGS anymore, just because they've fallen off so far. 10 years ago they were probably number one for modern cards. they were the go-to and everything else, and now they're pretty much non-existent. They're still around for the thick, exquisite type cards, NT type cards. But as a whole, they're, like I mentioned, I rarely even search for them. I did buy one a couple months back, a BGS 9 2023 Topps Black Bobby Witt Jr. because it was Topps Black certainly more than it was in a BGS 9 holder. I am trying to focus more on the lower numbered parallels, specifically gold refractors and Topps Blacks. They are not especially Topps Blacks are not as easy to find as one might think, especially as the years go on. They started that program in 2000, that parallel in 2003, and trying to find 2003 pool rolls and Ichiro Topps Blacks, just they get locked up for various reasons. But all of this adds to the layer of collecting, and so here you have the three versions of one particular. I thought it was cool to have three different copies of the one card, which happens to be numbered to 99, in each of the major grading company slabs. So whichever one you prefer is up to you. Personally, if these, and it's difficult. Oh well, would you buy? People ask me, would you buy this? I do. Obviously, I bought this SGC as it was. I've submitted to SGC. I don't like the way they look, but the tuxedo. I've always said tuxedos are for renting, not for owning. And again, I would rather buy this than the raw card, obviously. But my personal preference, if all three of these cards are the same price, it's PSA, CGC, and then SGC third. Given all three are the same price. Now, PSA is the market leader. They sell for the most. And if you have the same card and all three, literally the three slabs, the three same grays, 999, the PSA is going to outsell it every time. That's just the way the hobby works, the market works. Hobby market, whatever you want to call it. So I'm proud to have all three of these in my collection. I think that's something that is certainly getting lost on again in the hobby, is that yes, own the card, not the grade, etc. Collect how you like, blah blah blah. I get that. I like slabs. I'm not alone. I like nines. I'm not alone. I was certainly in a large majority many years ago. And that was another thing on the card like this. At the time, it was easier to find a 9.5 than a 9. That's going to be hard to understand for some folks that haven't been in the hobby a long time. But we're getting back there again where 9s are shunned, but they show up. There was a time where 9s weren't even, give me a 9.5 or give me the card back raw type of deal. So there was a time where finding, in fact, that this is a story for another time. But for my perfect example of that is the Young Guns McDavid, which I just couldn't find in a 9. This is around the same period, 2016. But that's a story for another time. So I just wanted to, I thought was a good talking topic on the different grading companies, and especially, I didn't even mention, with what collectors, the company collectors, purchased SGC last week. And, and my thoughts on that, I'll give my quick thoughts on that. I think, there's a lot of doom and gloom, but I think that, collectors, which is essentially, they own PSA, but they're essentially PSA. They're going to keep SGC as it is for a while. Might see some slowdowns on some specials or whatever, but I think eventually, depending on the market goes, how the direction the hobby goes, SGC could go away. And again, that's a topic for another time. What happens if SGC folds into PSA and they don't make SGC slabs anymore? What happens to the SGC slabs? We can talk about that another time. I did see one interesting post that you could see a scenario where somebody made a mock-up Photoshop where they made the piping here where it's red on SGC on PSA here. What they did is they made this piping black, and then they had SGC here in the lighthouse instead of PSA. They put SGC right there. And I thought that was interesting. And then obviously kept the slab the same. I've spoken about this many times. If I just have one here for example, if SGC, and I get it, tuxedo, blah blah blah, it's just too bulky. I mean, it's said you can literally snap this here. It's not supposed to be totally sealed. I've heard of people snapping these with their fingers. See, it looks even a little loose there when I don't know if that'll show up, but again, it doesn't, especially on the darker cards like 71 tops and then this. If they would take this gasket, is essentially all it is, this inner gasket, and make it like these, which PSA has a lot of trouble with, the stupid baggies, but this inner gasket is fantastic. This frosted, clear frosted, you can see the finger there. If you take that and you make, if you use that instead of the tuxedo, and obviously if you want to keep the molding, I guess, but that's just a personal preference that I think that that would look a lot better to have a nice frosted case. But again, that's just me. That's every individual's personal preference. But as you can see, there's an American flag right there in the back. So I don't have, there's a misconception. I've seen people say, "Oh, you hate SGC." No, I don't. My number one choice is PSA, but these guys, CGC, they have the best plastic in the game. Now, Tag, I do own a Tag slab somewhere here in the house, but I didn't take it out for this video. But their Tag plastic is very good. I'll give them that. I mean, we'll talk about Tag another time. How I don't like that. Again, that's another topic. But they can't be taken seriously until they start grading everything and they make their pricing affordable. I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's about the pricing, what they charge for it. I get it. PSA sell for more, but I haven't submitted any cards to PSA in a very long time, just because not that I don't like them, I do, and I see value in them, but I don't see, like I've mentioned before, I like to do my grading at the show, and I don't see the value they charge at the show. Why would I pay triple, over $100 a slab when CGC is charging $18? It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. It's my personal preference. I get it. Oh, wow. CGC slabs. I see a lot of people, CGC slabs, they don't sell very well. Well, I'm not really concerned with that. That if that were my main goal, to flip cards, then sure, I'd go PSA and do the math depending on what the card is as well. But I think that this is a good talking topic that I don't see discussed enough. And there's no denying there's a PSA only crowd, there's an SGC only crowd, and it's funny to see now that essentially PSA owns SGC, same parent company, however you want to talk, but there's there is the, to me, in my opinion, the SGC crowd hates PSA. They just, for some, hate it. Everything they do, whatever the slab, they call the slabs junk, all of this stuff. But now, when they're paying to get their cards SGC, graded by SGC, now going forward, they're actually giving PSA money through collectors. So there's a bit of irony there. You hate PSA, blah, 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 blah. I love SGC, blah, blah, blah. Well, now they're one and the same.